Good afternoon. Let's start with a question. How many of you have or had a companion animal like a dog or cat? For those of you who have or had one, I'd like you to take a moment to travel back in your memories and go find your pet. Found them? I'll take a chance here, and I will say that the majority of you loved your animal like your child, like your best friend, sibling, or maybe a little bit more than any of them. You fed them. You spent as much time as you could with them. They were your best friend. They were there for your accomplishments when you were young and older. They didn't judge you. They loved you unconditionally. And they were probably your best emotional support. Then, one day, your dog or cat got sick and passed away. And you were there in that moment with them when their soul left their body. Oh, come on, whatever, get over it. It was just a dog, just a cat, a thing. Just go get another one, maybe a different color. But that's not really how you felt, was it? Well, some people do believe that animals are just things, or they don't care about animals, or maybe they just never really thought about them. And our legal system still considers animals as just things. Why does it matter? Why should we care that our legal system treats animals as just things? I'll suggest 3 reasons. One is the way we treat some of the most vulnerable in our society, be it the elderly, the children, the disabled, marginalized people, or animals, is a reflection of who we are as individuals and as a society. I believe that all of these vulnerable groups, regardless of whether they have 2 legs, 4 paws, fur, scales, or human skin, deserve meaningful protection under the law. I also believe how we treat animals in our legal system matters because of our innate connection to animals. As Dr. Carl Safina, a professor at Stony Brook University, said, when babies are born, we do not adorn their nurseries with pictures of cell phones or laptops, right? We put up cute pictures of cute farmed animals like pigs or wildlife like bears and giraffes or cute little fish. And I believe we do that because as children, we have a genuine connection to animals. And there's no question anymore. And peer-reviewed scientific studies, such as a recent one by Daniel Mills and others, show and confirm that animals feel, they have friends, they have families, they have complex social structures just like us. So is it okay that a legal system that governs who and how someone is protected treats animals as just things? I also believe how we treat animals in our legal system matters because I believe we owe it to animals to make things better for them. We, as a human species, have taken away so much from them. We have taken away their homes. We have taken away some of their most basic freedom and well-being, such as from the over 800 million farmed animals killed each year in Canada, where many of them spend the majority of their lives in windowless factory farms confined in tiny spaces where they can never even stretch their wings or breathe fresh air or touch real earth with their own little feet or big feet. All so we could have some of this or some of this. And is there a difference between companion animals like dogs with whom we share our homes and sentient beings like cows who end up on our plates? Please believe me, I do not say this to make anyone feel guilty or like a bad person because of their preferred food choices. I really don't. Rather, my intention is for all of us to reflect on the current reality of how society treats animals for different purposes, and whether there is something that each one of us can do to make things better for animals. I'm Rebeka Breder, animal law lawyer, and trying to make things better for animals has been so important to me my entire life that I made a legal career out of it, and specifically to fight for animals in court where I can give them a much needed and deserved voice in our legal system, despite some people believing that animal rights and animal law are fringe. And on that note, one of the reasons why I'm thrilled to be here is because I'm hoping that by using myself as an example, I can show that it is possible to make a career out of our passion despite some people believing that it is fringe. I often half joke about how my career in animal law started when I was 13 years old, growing up as an animal rights activist in Montreal. This is a picture of me at 13, featured in the front section of the Montreal Gazette, where I'm holding a dead duck with a bullet wound in his chest. And at that time, I was going around various city councils in Montreal trying to convince them to ban duck hunting. And I remember being quacked at, being heckled. I did not let that stop me. I remember a time in high school when I gave a speech to my English class about why I believed it was wrong to wear fur coats. And the next day, my English teacher walked into the classroom wearing her long mink fur coat that she had never, ever done before. Looked at me from across the classroom with a snarky look and said, "You'll get over this phase." I'm 45 years old. This is either a really long phase or I have not grown out of my burning passion to fight for animals. And it was at some point in my teenage years when I decided I wanted to become a lawyer to fight for animals in court. But at that time, and up until recently really, animal law as a field wasn't known very well. It was fringe. And so in the mid-2000s, I started out as a junior general litigation lawyer, which means fighting in court, at a downtown corporate firm. And after being there for about 10 years, where I developed my animal law practice, I decided to leave that firm and to start my own exclusive animal law firm. And I actually wanted to do so for a long time. But I told myself, I need more experience, or, I'm not financially stable enough, or then I had a child and the timing didn't seem right. Basically, I was always making excuses because I was too scared to make that leap and to finally start my own thing. And sometimes you need a strong kick in the butt to push you to start your passion or to pursue your passion. And for me, that push came in the summer of 2016 when my father, with whom I was extremely close, passed away. And toward the end of his life, he said, words to the effect of, "Oh, come on, Rebeka, just do it. Go start your animal law firm already." Even though not many lawyers in the world were doing so. And so with those words and with the encouragement of my mother and husband and family and close friends, who have always been my biggest supporters, I did. So what does an animal law practice look like? Or at least mine. Let me start by saying that the only cases I take on are those cases where I feel I could help an individual animal or where I could advance the state of animal law, such as the defense of dogs. And these cases include where I defend dogs who have been unfairly labeled as aggressive or dangerous and are sometimes put on death row where a city wants to have a dog put down. I literally fight for the lives of these dogs who are considered things under the law, but are also beloved family members. And I feel an enormous amount of weight on my shoulders because I know that if I lose an animal, a beloved family member can die. Pet custody, another huge issue. Essentially, who gets the dog or cat upon separation, or when there's a dispute with an animal rescue organization over who really owns the animal. And I can tell you that these pet custody disputes are just as heated as child custody disputes, if not even more. Condominium disputes. Essentially, when a condominium board wants to evict someone's animal, including an emotional support animal, from a building, and there could be a number of reasons why. Wrongful death or injury cases. Those include veterinarian malpractice or when a police officer killed someone's dog, or I have a case now where a client was walking her dog on leash on a sidewalk in a city close to here, and the dog stepped on one of those grates that you see on sidewalks all the time that was electrified for some reason that day. The dog stepped on the grate, jumped up, yelped, falls back down, died on scene, being electrocuted by that grate. And one of the questions in these cases is, what is the value of that animal? Is it only market value because an animal is only a thing in law? Or is there a way that we could value the life of an animal that is similar to the way we value human life in wrongful injury cases involving only people? I also challenge government regarding their actions or inactions involving animals, such as taking action against the federal government over the live export of horses, where horses are crammed into small wooden crates, put on planes, shipped overseas where they're slaughtered for sushi. Or taking action against our provincial government over the killing of wolves in this province. Practicing animal law is hard, for me anyway. There is often the weight on my shoulders that I feel, that I mentioned. There are images that I would really rather not see. There are lots of stories that are really hard to absorb. And then there are people who want to bring me down. Sometimes it is out of pure jealousy. And sometimes it's because there are some people who think I'm bananas for doing what I do. How dare I use court and media time for talking about just animals? And then don't get me started on all the lovely sexist comments that I've had in my career, like, your skirt is too short for court, or women should not be lawyers, or you're too soft for litigation because you smile a lot. Well, as my husband so aptly puts it, behind this smile is an extra layer of teeth. And they come out when they need to. And then there's the reality of our legal system, where I'm up against what some judges have said in other cases, such as, where after all is said and done, a dog is a dog, to consume scarce judicial resources with this matter is wasteful. Or the law is clear that pets should not be treated in law as family members, but rather as personal property. I disagree. And with all due respect to those judges in those cases, if our legal system makes the time to deal with mundane issues such as who breached the contract over a machine, then I believe our legal system must make time for some of the most vulnerable beings in our society with whom we share our homes and planet. And then when I get judges in some of my cases that make the following comments or decisions, such as, another test is to look at the interests of the animal because an animal is a living creature, not an ordinary piece of property. Or an additional consideration is the fact that the mammals most directly affected, the wolves, have no ability to bring the action, and therefore you, Ms. Breder, you may do so on their behalf. Or, I accept Ms. Breder's proposition that in the case law, there's an acceptance that an animal is not just an ordinary piece of property, they're living beings. And when I hear comments like these from judges in my cases in court, I so want to do the happy dance. And I don't. But the reason why these comments are huge is because every time a judge says or implies that an animal is more than just a thing, it's progress for animals. Throughout my life, I have been told that I am too idealistic, or that as I get older, I will lose my passion. If I have not been obvious enough today, my passion is only getting stronger. And one of the points I hope you get out of my talk today is that it is possible to make a career out of your passion, despite how fringe some people may think it is, despite how hard it may be. If you have a passion, don't let anyone or anything get in the way. Just because something has not been done before does not mean it cannot be done. I carved my legal career out of my passion for animal protection at a time when animal law is still in its infancy. And if I can do something like this, so can you. Thank you. Thank you.